Hi there. Does this sound like the volume of your life? Or is it more like a repetitive hum lulling you to sleep? Well, in this episode, we're discussing how to add volume and dynamics to your dormant soul. This is Motherhood Unmasked, the podcast for real talk about the challenges moms face. I'm your host, Vanessa Harris. But mama, you're the kind of hero who doesn't need to hide behind a mask. I'm looking forward to connecting with you today. Hey there, Mama Bear. Vanessa here with compassion, candor, and clarity for you. The mom who's lived life on mute for far too long. I am so glad you're here. Listen, every season I add a new feature to the podcast that hopefully turns out to enhance the experience for you. This season, I've added transcriptions of the episodes to make our conversations available to our deaf and hard of hearing mamas. So if you know a mom who would love the show but needs to read the content, you can share the episode with her. Just send her to the show notes for the episode you recommend. For example, she can find this episode's show notes at vinelifefaith.com/episode 37, all one word. It'll take me a while to get all the episodes transcribed because I'm starting with this season and working my way backwards, but we'll get there. I'm just excited to make the Motherhood Unmasked movement available to even more moms. All right, well, you are joining me for part 3 in a series on self-nurture. And I'm intentional in using nurture as opposed to self-care because self-care has the connotation of caring for your body, but nurture gives the idea of caring for your soul, which is why we started the series with self-perception, what you think of you, and then self-worth, how you invest in you. And today we're looking at self-expression. How do you nurture your voice in the world? When I say voice, I'm using it as a catch-all term to represent the many ways to express yourself. You may be a writer or an artist, or speaking maybe is your expression of choice. But every form of expression has a voice, and you're saying something no matter how you share it. And there are many directions this could go, but let's limit the conversation to expression in two senses: your speaking voice and your creativity. There's something I've noticed over the almost 17 years I've been home raising my kids, and it's that I've had to fight for my voice and creative expression. Now, as a woman, you already know the struggle to be heard in numerous facets of society, be it the culture, corporate settings, even the church. But as a stay-at-home mom, there's an air, even from moms working outside of the home, that as a stay-at-home mom, you're quote-unquote out of the loop, so you likely don't have anything valuable to contribute to this conversation. And top that off with raising toddlers who don't provide stimulating conversation, who then become tweens and teens who value the voice of their peers over yours, and it's easy to see how you find yourself whispering, or worse, muted, because you believe you have nothing to say, at least nothing of value. And while I think the pandemic evened the playing field for all moms, reminding us no one of us has it better than the other, speaking up because you have value to contribute is a belief you have to nurture. No one else will do that for you. In the April article on Vine Life Faith, I referenced the well-known adage, if a tree falls in the forest and no one heard it, did it really make a sound? And even as a child, when asked this, I said, of course it made a sound. And furthermore, I've been that tree. Whether it's in spaces predominantly male or predominantly white or predominantly of a culture that doesn't welcome candor, I've made a whole host of sounds no one heard. And while we want to be heard, I've learned to honor what I have to say by saying it. even if no one honors me by acknowledging what I said. Because how can you be a mom who impacts generations if you mute yourself? Because you're conditioned to believe your voice doesn't matter. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And if you think your words don't have weight, then you can't be surprised when no one else, including your children, thinks they do either. So it's up to you to nurture your voice by deciding expressing your thoughts matter and being okay with some words being caught and some words falling to the ground. Now, when it comes to creative expression, I'm all about words. I'm sure that's not a surprise to you. So my tools are a pen, paper, and a keyboard, where yours may be a brush and canvas, or modeling clay, or a camera, or a sewing machine. And you may be saying, Vanessa, I'm not into anything like any of that. I don't do any of that. And to you, I ask, do you know this because you tried them and you didn't like them? Or did you refuse yourself permission to explore the possibilities? And if you are artistic, are you making room in your life to share the beauty in your soul? We moms love finding all kinds of creative outlets for our children, but it took someone coming up with the idea of combining wine with a painting class for you to discover you have an artistic eye. And all I'm saying is, as a creative being made by a creative God, it's okay to discover and nurture your gift of expression without a buzz. If you've been around a while, you know I enjoy journaling, but what you don't know is I dabble in poetry. It's been a couple years since my last poem, but I have several. And each of them started with a phrase I just kept hearing in my head till I sat down at my laptop and let the rest of the poem flow. Just me pausing the busy to acknowledge my soul had something to say was all it took for my soul to start talking. And no, I haven't been writing poetry all of my life. I simply gave myself permission to be curious about what this phrase was that wouldn't let me go. And next thing I knew, I had a poem. And it's a beautiful thing to look at your thoughts arranged in a stanza or bound in a book and know it's because you considered there's more to you than meets the eye. And that brings us to the segment of the show called Homework, the work a woman does to build her home and family. This week's homework is taking time to consider what lights your fire. What gift do you have to offer that has nothing to do with your work, the kids, or responsibilities? In what ways can you nurture or stoke the fire of your self-expression? Something I find beautiful is word art. I love fonts, and the idea that hand lettering is essentially handwriting fonts intrigues me. So during my last hiatus from the podcast, I tried hand lettering. I found a lady on YouTube whose teaching style I liked, and I ordered her free course. I bought a pack of brush point pens and gave it a try. And I was just as terrible at it as I expected because it's not easy to master. But I find the practice drills relaxing, and that alone makes giving myself the space to try it worth it. Maybe your thing is taking photos of skyscapes. Capturing sunrises or sunsets or cloud formations is your jam, whether it's with the camera on your trusty smartphone or your DSLR if you're fancy. When's the last time you snapped some shots? Don't just wait till you're on a vacation. Go out some days and just see what you see and capture it just because you love it. Maybe speaking is what you do best, and it's time you speak up and honor the contributions you can make to conversations large and small. Do you have a story to tell? One that could encourage or spark transformation in those who hear it, but you're too afraid to speak? I can relate. So then how about investing in a speaker's course? or you can start small on an app like Clubhouse. It's an audio-only platform, you may have heard of it, where you can join in existing conversations held in sort of like virtual rooms, or you can even host your own conversation. It's been fun for an introvert like me to listen in and learn from everyday people and great minds in any field, and have the opportunity to get on the quote-unquote stage to contribute and ask questions. But I will admit it's still intimidating for me to speak up in large groups, so I challenge myself to honor my voice by contributing more instead of being content with listening to everyone else. If you're on the app, come find me. I'd love to connect with you. I've also created a Motherhood Unmasked club there to host conversations that matter to moms, especially moms like me who want to leave a better legacy than the one they inherited. I'm still figuring out how to work hosting regular rooms into my schedule and keep my family first. But real talk, I'm still also working up the courage to host regular rooms, period. But if you follow me on Clubhouse and follow the club Motherhood Unmasked, you'll be notified when I do host a room. You can find the link to my Clubhouse bio by clicking the Clubhouse logo on this episode's show page at vinelifefaith.com/episode 37. So, it looks like we both have homework this week. I hope my self-expression in this episode served to inspire and encourage you to find a creative outlet, stoke the fire of your creative passion, or use your voice to speak into the people around you, especially your children. I'll link to the article I mentioned earlier. It's titled, "Does Anyone Hear Me?" I'll link to it on the episode 37 show page, along with the link to join my email list. Getting on my email list is the easiest way to access the resources I mention here on the show, because who has time to remember a bunch of links when you're listening to this podcast while you're working out, driving, or any number of other things? I know I don't. So make life easier on yourself and sign up to stay in the loop. All right, Mama Bear, keep nurturing your soul, your self-perception, your self-worth, and your self-expression. And until next time, please remember, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. Take care. For all things Motherhood Unmasked, including fun and helpful resources and a link to leave me a message, check out vinelifefaith.com/podcast. Motherhood Unmasked is sponsored by Vine Life Faith, where we're breaking negative cycles and building healthy community through connection with Christ. vinelifefaith.com.